It loaded up pretty quickly this time. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reason Reborn, episode 10. Welcome to 2018. Hope that you survived mentally and physically 2017. But it's a new year. Hopefully we'll see some new stuff come our way that won't make us go batshit insane like 2017 did.
Yeah.
So, first of all, let's say hello to the co-host, the lovely Cardiac Sumo. What's up?
Oh shit, I'm lovely now. It really is a new year. What's up, man? Honestly, I feel bad because my first thought going into 2018 was like, we still have Trump as president, so what the fuck's everybody so excited about? But I'm gonna try to put my happy face on.
Just crushed hope already. Jeez.
I'm turning that frown upside down. I'm gonna be positive for like 5 minutes, and then we'll see.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Don't worry. I keep telling me that self. I haven't had any alcohol, just to let you know. So that's not me lying to myself through an alcoholic haze. I'm trying to be positive. Trying to do this without alcohol. All right. So, how was your holiday season?
It was magical. Headed up to New York.
Yeah, we had to talk about that before the podcast. You've had a great, wonderful, relaxing, stress-free vacation. I heard.
Definitely. I almost froze to death because for some reason it was uncharacteristically snow. I saw the news up there. They were like, how the news always like grasps on to catchphrases. I heard the phrase "bitter blast" or whatever the fuck so many times.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
By the way, it's not a characteristic for it to snow in December in the Northeast because it does it all the time. So who said that? What the fuck?
I don't know what to tell you. It got down to about 15 or so, 10, and then like wind chill of like 1.
We're not necessarily used to having sub 30-degree days like this in a row. But yeah, you picked a hell of a time because it's pretty much capped off at 25 every day for the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, so somebody said like the amount of days in a row was unusual. But
yeah.
For reference, I live in Florida, so fuck that. Went home after about a week or so, spent time with family. Religious disputes occurred. I didn't get any presents. Not because I'm an atheist, just because I'm old, Nobody gives a shit about me.
Don't you hate that you're an adult? You don't get shit.
I'm not gonna lie. Like if I got some socks, I would have been hyped. But
right, it's gotten to the point now where you don't even get to like stuff you got as a teenager that you didn't want. Like fuck. Like socks are expensive. Give me some goddamn socks, please.
I think the only person that got presents was like a 7th-month-old baby, which started bringing up conversations about when I'm gonna start having kids, which were not welcome. So still single, still got no kids, not freezing my ass off. Still a worthless atheist.
Well, I'm freezing my ass off because it maxed out at 23 degrees here today. Of course, like I told my friend, I shouldn't really complain because they live in the Midwest. She said that it's not even a number degree here, not a real number. It's in the negative there. That's without wind chill, by the way. So I mean, that's the like damn temperature, and I'm like, yeah, I'm bitching about it being 19 degrees right now.
Yeah. Like mid 50s, 60s around here, so not. Typical.
I heard that it got kind of cold down there. People were really mad. Like I heard from my brother in Georgia, he was like, "It's getting down below 30 today," and I'm like, "We ain't seen 30 in a minute."
It's certainly dipping, which is depressing, but it's still not New York cold, so I'm good. I will say I indulged in a lot of junk food during my trip because I just didn't feel like cooking, I guess. So I had like a shit ton of ice cream and chips and.
Usually on vacation, cooking is the last thing you want to do. I mean, who fucking goes out of town and prepares meals for themselves?
So I actually did the first day or two, and then Christmas came around and it was like a bunch of Jamaican food, and they had called grape nut ice cream. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I usually only ever see it in Jamaican stores. I never seen it at like a Walmart or anything. But it's like my favorite ice cream. I guess genetically or some shit, I don't know. So I never see it around, so I just like had to indulge in that.
Man, I've never seen grape nut.
Like other Jamaicanist treats. Yet, you know, I felt bad because I remember right before we left, I said like my resolution or whatever was like I was gonna have abs, and then I'm like eating this ice cream like such an asshole. But I came back and weighed in yesterday, and somehow it just doesn't seem to have had an effect. So
it's because you froze it off. It just basically chipped away from your body as the wind, because it was very windy too around.
That is my theory, that my body used up a bunch of energy trying to survive. So
yeah, exactly. Worked out fine for you, but yeah, ours was cool. It was boring. I'm old, like you said. When you're older, you don't get gifts. You don't really want to do anything like New Year's Eve. I was chilling here, playing Assassin's Creed. I actually streamed before midnight, and then just sat and played Assassin's Creed, and then I beat it.
Yeah, shit.
So I had my first game beaten in the new year is Assassin's Creed Origins.
So did you rate it 10 out of 10?
I don't do rating systems, but I will say it's a very good game. It's not an Assassin's Creed game until the very end, which I found hilarious. And I played that game for over 40 hours, and there was no mention except for slight, lines where somebody will say something for the Brotherhood, and it's like, okay, that's cute, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, stuff like that, and all that. But no one definitively said, you know what, we're gonna be the assassins until the end. And even the way they came up with the logo for the assassins, I thought was kind of like, it was, if you played Assassin's Creed games, you got it, but nothing about it told you, yeah, this is why we got all these other games.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. It was a very, very weird, but it was a fun game. It was a really fun game. Lots of crazy stuff. I actually found it hilarious that they've done a crossover with Square and Final Fantasy. You actually got a Choco camo, and you actually got to use the Ultima Sword and the most powerful shield in the series. I forget the name of it. So I was riding around the desert with a feathery camel
Good to hear.
A sword that came from space.
Great Assassin's Creed shit. Good to hear some positive experience, I guess, because it seems like movies and games and stuff, it's like an A+ amazing game, or it's an F. It's never nothing can just be good anymore. There's no middle.
No, people need to either complain or praise. They don't want to do anything in between.
Yeah.
Because I heard a lot of complaining about stuff.
Yeah, that Star Wars,
especially in game.
Justice League.
Yeah. Okay, you wanted to talk about the Star Wars. So do you want to do this at the beginning, or do you want to do this after we get through our political stuff?
I didn't mean we had to talk about it on the podcast.
We don't have to talk about it, but I know you wanted to talk about it. And I figured, why not? Because it probably will tie into some of the stuff that we've talked about before. I know for me, there were certain things that I could relate to now and to things that have happened, like religiously, politically, socially, and all that.
Right. Bring it up when you have a point to relate it to.
Okay. But did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah. I'm in the camp that likes it. I'm not in the camp that hates it, which I did a 2-hour podcast about that already. Yes. Probably be doing a theory cast soon. Strix, if you're watching this, we got to do that theory cast and spend another 4 hours talking about.
On my list, I've got 3 videos from you to catch up on.
Don't try to catch up because I've started to record since I've had the day off, and so.
Yeah, there was that. There was a Drunken Old Man Rant, and then a first video thing of the year or whatever earlier today, I think.
Yeah, there's probably a couple more Drunken Old Man Rants coming. I had a weird first visitor. About the whole wise tales about New Year's, right? Like the stuff that you need to do in order to have good luck. Okay, so maybe your family isn't as black as mine, which is a good thing because to me, I've always found this annoying. Okay, so there's some tenets that you need to do for the new year. First being, you have to eat collard greens for money, black eyed peas for luck, and it's something else, I thought. But I know those were the two major things in our house. Another thing is, if you want to have a good year, the first visitor in your house of the new year has to be a male.
What the fuck?
If they're not, you're gonna have a bad year. So I kind of sort of had that when some guy comes banging on my door like the police, talking about meat man selling meats. Like, the fuck are you doing knocking on my door? Like, early on, okay, so again, luckily for you, you probably haven't been indoctrinated in this. And I don't know if this has happened in other people's neighborhoods. So if you're non-black, let me know. But I remember growing up in my grandmother's neighborhood, there was a guy who would walk around the neighborhood screaming meat man, and he would sell meat door to door. And my grandmother would buy like certain meats from him because I guess he had like a cheaper price, but a good enough quality to buy. Okay. Just a guy in his truck walking around with a truck full of meat. And this was that. That's why I was kind of shocked. I didn't even open my door. I was like, fuck this shit. Like, and I went back to watching TV because I was kind of shocked more than anything. Because my first thought was, people still do that here? Like, what? Like, and then the second was, why is he banging on my door? So he was banging on everybody's door in the whole building, really loud, trying to hustle meat. I'm like, dude, most people are probably hungover, sleeping off, like they're partying. Nobody want to wake up this time in the morning to like fucking buy some meat. Like, fuck that. Like, what are you doing? The last thing on people's mind is buying some goddamn pork chops from you. But
I can definitely say I did not have that experience growing up. But I will say there is a difference culturally between like American black and like other black places. Like my family was Jamaican growing up, and I do feel like that's something a lot of Americans don't realize. So when they just see a black person, it's like American black is a culture all by itself.
Yeah, I know. American black is one hell of a fucking culture. Oh my! And again, that's why I guess I say that I'm glad you didn't grow up as black as I did, because I feel like if you're an American black person, you are the blackest of the black. You do some things that are very, very unique to you as a black person. Like, other cultures don't involve themselves in. It reminds me, I have to tell you a story after that I can't tell on air. But yeah, we do some. Yeah, American black culture is a hell of a thing.
I'm hoping nobody tells me about some similar Jamaican culture shit. Not that I care that much because I don't really identify.
I mean, I would have thought like I would think like maybe if when you go back to more rural colonial days and before that, I would think that of course you would probably have something like that, because a lot of people, their farms are far away and they would have to bring it to their customers from their farms, which are far off from town and things like that. So I could see it happening there, although they did create farmers markets for a reason.
I'm sure they got some kind of similar shit.
But I'm sure they had something back then. But it's just like flash forward to, again, this is like modern times where the grocery store has evolved and there's still marketplaces and there's butcher shops still, they're not in abundance. They still there were still places in the means for people to get to them. It wasn't like growing up, I lived in an area where there wasn't a grocery store. There was a grocery store. There wasn't a lot of choices in DC back then, but there were places that you can get food. So the meat man thing was always kind of a weird thing to me growing up, because it's just like, this dude is cashing in, bringing people, meat.
Yeah, I would say that thing about getting a male visitor first, that's a weird kind of sexism. I'm wondering where that derives from.
I would love to know the story behind that one, because my mom, my grandmother, my aunts, they all used to say that don't let anybody in your house until a guy comes first, and then you can have visitors. for the rest of the year. So it used to be this guy who lived in the neighborhood who was always the go-to guy who would come to the house. It was so fucking weird. It's like, yo, really? It was like every year, like clockwork. That's how it had to be.
And that, of course, means that women coming over first are bad luck, which is, I don't know. It's always weird how there's some.
Like, personally, as a single male, a women visitor is much preferable than a male visitor. Like, what the fuck? But I guess, I don't know. It was just always that way. It was even like that when I think about it, even when my parents were married in Georgia, a cousin or something would come over and be that first visitor. It's like weird,
creepy sexism pervading in traditions.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I'm glad you got your penis of luck.
I guess, I don't know. It's so fucking weird. I didn't let him in, so I guess I don't have any luck.
Yeah, right. No lucky dick for you. Shit.
Yeah, I'm fine. I think I'm fine. I'm fine. Moving on to that. I can't segue that one. That's just that's unsegwayable for me right now.
I wonder if there's other people that believe in that. I could be somebody's lucky dick. Nah. Let me shut up.
Better start calling some exes that you might be
right. Like, there's some girl out there that's just waiting for me to walk through the door. Start the new year off right.
Oh man, that is hilarious. Damn. Okay, so here's a good segue. Speaking of dicks, so let's talk about our president here. So that worked. That worked. So he of course had some last minute shenanigans for 2017. One being his going at Amazon and the U.S. Postal Service. Basically, he started tweeting that there's a problem with the fact that Amazon gets deals from the post office for shipping, while the post office is constantly not making money and not profiting, and things like that. Part of the reason we all know is because the head of Amazon does not like Trump. He's been vocal about it, and he's, he runs the Washington Post too. Most people don't realize that the owner of Amazon also owns the Washington Post as well, which is not a friendly newspaper to Donald Trump.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, no, a lot of people don't know that, but yeah, he actually owns the Washington Post, and the Washington Post eviscerates that man. So yeah, Trump has his personal bias to say that. The reason I brought this up, and I told you I was going to tell you why, is because it also sets a precedent that I think it's going to be a trend in 2018. We've already seen hints of it in this presidency, and that is the attack of bureaucracy in order to put money in other people's pockets. We've seen him do things like he took away funding for the arts and stuff like that. He's been religious about getting rid of the education department, and a lot of GOP members want to get rid of the education department. Things like EPA, smaller bureaus, smaller things, smaller acts they've been messing with. I think this is where the dumb guy does something that's kind of smart for himself. And the reason I say that is because it's no secret the post office isn't like what it used to be. Not a lot of people mail through the post office anymore. Not a lot of people mail letters anymore. Things like that. Usually during Christmas is usually the best thing. The Amazon deal does pump $2.1 billion into their revenue stream, but of course it's not enough because it's just the post office just isn't what it is. We have email, we have stuff like this, Hangouts, where I could talk to you a lot quicker than mailing you a letter. Sure. There's been so many technological advances that the post office kind of got antiquated before it was ready to adjust, and now they're scrambling to adjust. To me, this is him saying if there's an easy target to start picking off things that we have, conveniences that we have in life, why not the post office? Because it's a U.S. government funded thing. Yeah, you'll kick a lot of people out of your jobs, but you'll save the government a lot of money in running that, so they can free it up for stuff like they usually do, which is to give out defense contracts or to subsidize like different people who lobby for them and things like that. So that's why I want to bring this up, because I feel like that's going to be kind of the trend. Like looking back at 2017, there was a lot of bullshit, but I think like now that he survived a year, the real fun is going to start. Especially since they got the tax plan in place. I feel like that tax plan is kind of now the linchpin for them to like run rampant and try to justify, like, you know, since we're not going to pay as much when it comes to taxes, funds are going to go other way, and I think that's going to come in the way of slashing human services.
It is weird how, because you know, this you could say this postal office thing is an important conversation. You can even say the tax thing is an important conversation. There's somewhat complicated issues. It's disturbing how he starts these conversations on Twitter with bullying, mean girl tweets. It's the most immature way to start an important conversation ever. It's never really like, we should talk about this. This is an important issue. Let's discuss this. Let's find solutions here. It's always, these stupid idiots over here, we need to get rid of that. We need to change that. It's the way a 12-year-old approaches, you know, many complicated issues with simple solutions, often stupid solutions, and in an immature way. These are problems that we should come up with more intelligent, in-depth solutions for. And anytime you look at this guy's Twitter, he's the crazy old guy who just sits at home and complains about shit and just thinks he could do a better job, and now he's actually sitting there pretending he can do a better job. It's fucking creepy. It's not the way intellectual conversation should start, yet it always is the way with him.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I look back on 2017 and I really, really hate, is that he's kind of become the justification for anyone who attacks problems like that. I mean, it's been something that's been going on for a long time, forever probably. I think it's been heightened because of our connectivity to social media. But I think when you give certain people a platform or some type of power, they have a certain amount of influence where they can start to take something that just seems like just a bad way to do things and justify it. Sort of, it gives people justified, because it's like, if the president can do it, why can't I? And a lot of people will like use that argument, and I see that now going through a lot of things where people will say and do like stuff that they probably would never have thought of, but because he gets away with it, people feel emboldened to behave that way. And it's like, no, this isn't how you solve problems. This is how you take care of things. Like, you know, it's not just being the hammer to the nail. He's fucking taking a goddamn sledgehammer to crack open a peanut. And it's like,
it's not elegant at all.
Huh?
It's not elegant at all.
No, it's not. And it's messy, and it leaves shit like flying everywhere. And like, there's not enough rational people, it seems, to be able to contain it, because we have the GOP who's been acting like asses, who ended 2007 in the worst way when they got that tax bill and they started fucking glorifying Trump. I was sick to my stomach, because I was like, you guys know you don't fucking like this guy. You know you hate him.
Oh yeah, the love
fest. You know you don't fucking agree with him, but you're so obsessed with using this guy to get your will. Now that you've gotten something, you're egging it on just so you could benefit from it. It's like, okay, sure, do that if you may. Walk into a fucking mine full of gas with a fucking lit match and think it's not going to explode.
Yes, had that love fest happened before we did the last podcast?
It happened after the bill passed.
That was when that shit was creepy. The way Ryan and Pence were just on their knees sucking this guy's dick. I'm sorry, that's gross imagery, but it was appropriate imagery. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. This is the kind of behavior you see in other types of governments where they kind of worship their leader. This is not how a democracy should be acting. It's not how America acts toward a leader. I don't know how to explain what the fuck I watched during that. No, who the fuck was that lady? I remember some woman saying something like,
yeah, I know.
For allowing us to have you as president or something like that. And I was like, what the fuck? That was the creepiest praise statement I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, it was a very scary moment because, like you said, that's not how a democracy acts. We don't deify our leaders like that. Exactly. Especially not over passing one fucking bill. He passed one piece of major legislation in his first year. He spent more time on the golf course than he did working on solutions to problems and handling things. And you're praising this guy for what? He's been the most divisive, most toxic human being, if he is a human being, to be in the office. And I'm talking about a country that has a history of like slave owners, racists, people with questionable passes as far as like criminal background, all this shit who've been in that fucking office. And he is probably the worst of all of them.
Right. And, that behavior shows you two important things. First of all, it shows you they have no self-respect, no shame. Fuck it. They're just going to throw themselves on their hands and knees in front of him if it gets them what they want. And secondly, it shows you that we have a leader that likes and expects that kind of praise. I mean, they wouldn't be doing that if they didn't think it would work with him, right? It must have some sort of effect. It must be getting them what they want. They must know that sort of jerking off just works for this guy. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. So it shows you what kind of leader we have and what kind of, I guess, other leadership we have. It's very troubling. And again, this is not I'm afraid that people are getting too used to this because this is not how we treat an American president or any leadership in America. This is just not how we conduct ourselves. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because you think back to how people like to talk about America and freedom. Wasn't the idea of America brought about because they didn't want a deity as their leader? Like, kings and queens were afforded that type of status. And nobody liked King George. They didn't like the fact that this guy was like, and his people were telling us what to do and controlling how we did things and just going about business without thinking about all sides and all people. It's just getting what they want out of America. And America rebelled against that to form a government that was supposed to be a place where everybody has equal standing and people have rights and are able to, work together and all that for the common good, for the greater good, for everybody. And it's like, how did we roll back over 200 years of history and start to slide into the point where you're giving this man like the mindset that he's a fucking god?
And he walked in acting like this already. He didn't seem to understand that certain sections of the government don't fucking work for him and he can't just fire whoever he doesn't like. Expecting people to kind of bow down. He walked in with this mentality and they just let him keep walking.
Yeah, because look at now the fight with the Department of Justice, how he keeps calling for them. They need to arrest Comey and they need to do this and they need to question this. Like, the Department of Justice was established as an arm, like Barack Obama said, I may hire you, but I'm not necessarily in control of you because it's not my place to tell you the rights and wrongs of justice. I hire you because I think that you're the type of person, you're the type of people who will do the right thing no matter who's in office, no matter who it is. No loyalty to me. Your loyalty is to right and wrong. But he seems to think that, no, this is just another piece. This is another fucking toy for me to pick up and play with whenever I want. It's like, no, it's not supposed to work like that, because if you let a president do that, you pretty much are bringing us back to the king and queen days, because now It's the Sheriff of Nottingham thing. Yeah, I'll send you out to bully the people while I sit on the throne. And this is like, no, that's not the way it should work. And I don't know why people aren't as up in arms as like rational people are. You know, it's absurd.
It's creepy, and the fact that people aren't freaked out by this, that some people, I guess, aren't freaked out by this behavior, just shows a lack of historical understanding, I guess, because this should terrify Americans. This behavior is against what we stand for as a nation. And you know, you were talking about other people engaging in this kind of behavior. I remember, who the fuck was it? Earlier today, somebody was like using similar catchphrases in all capital. They were like lying lib media or something like that. They were using a catchphrase style similar to his, and I'm like, see, this fucking technique is just spreading all over the place. It's crazy because, again, it's not stopping with him, and that's what makes it terrifying. Other people are picking it up, and it works, I guess, which is why they keep picking it up. It's
really, really dumb. And it kind of seems to be spreading into the world because while a lot of the world doesn't care for Trump, apparently Israel loves this man. And I hate the fact that they love him only because he did the whole Palestine thing, which is so fucking disrespectful. So that was horrible too, by him acknowledging that Palestine is under the sovereignty of Israel. It's set of course of things like the UN had made an official statement of denouncement for what he said. Of course, that's not a binding thing. It's not going to stop it from being, doing it. It's not going to do anything to hurt him. It just means that the world thinks he's an asshole, which he seems to be comfortable with. But now you have, apparently it's not just, there's a train station that the government of Israel wants to name after Donald Trump, and they would have put it in Palestine, which
I'm sure
on the banks, on the disputed banks, which I find highly distasteful. But apparently, there's a rash of other votes to name stuff after him. People want to start naming stuff after him in appreciation for what he did. Which, come on, Israel, you're supposed to be civilized, and this is how you act.
I'm sure this dude has a rock hard direction over all that. Was there any how did he do what he did as far as?
He just gave a speech and he just said it. He did what no president has ever done and what nobody in the world would ever do, because they understand the gravity of that situation. Him being his dumb self, he doesn't understand what that city and what that ground means to different people. Even if you're not a religious person, you kind of would know better.
I'm not a religious person, and I don't agree with the religious aspect of that dispute, but that was really fucking stupid. And I guess what I was going to ask you is, how did he get away with doing that? Nobody thought, it was just stop this crazy motherfucker?
And that's another problem. That's the problem, though. His administration. He has no one in there to actually give him any real rational thought. They're just letting him run the fuck crazy because they're fucking insane themselves. Wasn't Kelly brought there to keep him in check? And then Kelly shows that he's a crazy ass motherfucker. It's what the fuck? You can't say it's the inmates running the asylum because there was never any fucking body watching the asylum to begin with.
And I always hated in the beginning when people were like, well, the other people will keep him sane. No, they won't. They're not there. You should have known that he was going to craft his own administration. I didn't understand what the fuck people were talking about at first. And every time I see something like this, I'm like, all those people who said he's just president, he doesn't have god level powers, he can't fuck shit up that bad. Every time I see something like this, I just keep waiting for those same people to come back and say, my bad. You're right. Maybe your president can fuck up in a major way. I mean,
yeah, it's go back to certain people that many didn't like over history. Like people like Reagan and Bush Jr., who everybody fashioned as basically just, pawns who just sat in the office while the rest of their administration did what they had to do to get what they wanted to get. Even in those situations, there was a respect for the law. Sure, there were some cases where you can make an argument that they kind of like, bit corners of the pages, but they never necessarily threw the fucking book out when it came to the law and like upholding, certain government standards. You know what I mean?
Certainly.
This guy has no fucking standard at all. And the GOP seem to have lost the idea of standard because, again, they feel like, well, we're winning, so that's all that matters. It's like no one seems to want to uphold the government standard anymore. It's just whatever the fuck to get what I want.
He made a point during the post office thing where you mentioned him attacking bureaucracy. This is one of the most dangerous things about this guy. He attacks any laws he doesn't like. He attacks the media. He attacks any standing organizations that he feels are either wasteful or just in his way in some way. He attacks just standard behavior of politics. I mean, he's just bulldozing through the foundation of democracy in general, and the house that stands atop is going to collapse if he doesn't stop.
Yeah, it goes back to that whole, like, where we talked about a couple of weeks ago, how there are people out there who their idea of fixing things is just to throw everything out and rewrite it. I feel like in the odd way, that's what he's trying to do, is just throw everything out and rewrite it. But it don't work like that, because we're starting to see why that type of mentality doesn't work. Because if you take something away, what are you going to replace it with? Give me a plan. Give me an idea. You can't just rip something out and then boom, everything's fine now. We got rid of this. Things will be fine. You have to have something there because there's always going to be a need for certain things, certain groups, certain entities, certain laws, certain standards. You can't just say, I don't like the standards, so I'm blowing it the fuck up and we're starting all over from scratch, because if you're going to do that, you better have a damn good game plan to replace it with. Sorry. What do we have?
Do you see what the fuck this guy just tweeted?
What did he just tweet?
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un just stated that the nuclear button is on his desk at all times. Will someone from his depleted and food-starved regime please inform him that I too have a nuclear button, but it is a much bigger and more powerful one than his, and my button works.
See what I mean?
What the
Who the fuck does that? No.
What the I say just, I mean,
threatening,
that,
you
like,
just threatened a madman just threatened another madman. Do you want people to die? Are you not realizing that you're playing with people's lives?
And no, this wasn't like, maybe he said this in a press conference, I don't know, but this wasn't like an essay he wrote with some long thought out stuff. This wasn't an official conference. He just tweeted this on Twitter like 7 minutes ago, it seems. Yeah, 7 minutes.
And this is
during the podcast, folks.
This is why I fucking really need for people to wake the fuck up, because it's insanity. It's not the way he is basically behaving. Honestly, as a content creator, it reminds me of the YouTube drama shit, where you get people going back and forth making videos about each other on YouTube for no reason, because somebody sucks at this game, or I beat you at this, or I didn't like the video that you did, and you don't like the video I did. It's like he's fucking boiled American politics down to a lunchroom argument between two kids, who one thinks Spider-Man's the best superhero, and the other thinks fucking Superman is the best superhero ever. That's what it comes off as. Yeah. It's like childish fucking tit for tat bullshit. And now North Korea is going to come out and they're going to do something dumb, and then he's going to come back, and it's like, why are you fostering this? Why are you pushing? Why is he spoiling for a goddamn war with those people?
I mean, isn't he the same guy that said, why don't we use nukes if we have them or something like that? Like, he doesn't seem to understand the reality of the destructive power of nuclear weaponry. But in general, this is what I want to point about the way he communicates with the public. Again, this wasn't some thought out essay he wrote over a couple of days. This wasn't a press conference that he really thought about. He just had some crazy ass thought in his brain, and he just spilled it onto the Twitter tapestry for the whole world to see. And this language was incredibly threatening. Holy shit.
And see, that's the problem I have with people who were all gung-ho for him and all that. Like, we need somebody who's a real person and all that. Y'all didn't take a step back and look. I understand. You feel like politicians, because they're these highly educated, well-to-do people who are full of trust fund babies, that they are just out for themselves. And in a lot of cases, there are people like that in politics. That's humanity, period. That being said, you picked an uneducated trust fund baby who has no fucking clue as to what the fuck he's doing. He's never worked a day in his life. He's been taken care of by other people. Don't give me that bullshit about how he built the Trump empire. He was a billionaire when he was born. His father made that money. His father built that company. He gave it to his son. His son, who inherited a company full of CEOs, executives who run the company's day-to-day operations for him. What he did was he made a bigger name for himself because he's a fucking weird personality. He's that loud, boisterous, crazy guy that we watched on reality TV because we're like, oh, he's so wacky. He does all these crazy things and says these crazy things. He's fucking National Enquirer dirt sheet material. But you've elevated this fucking hokey motherfucker to a position that he does not belong in because you're tired of politicians. You're tired of people with agendas and stuff like that. He's a rich motherfucker who only cares about money. He's bankrupt several companies in an attempt to save money for himself. He sold off properties just so because he knew he ran them to the ground so he can cash in before and got rid of millions of jobs throughout the world for people who worked for him. He's done nothing in his life for anybody but for himself. And this is who you want it to be the fucking leader of the free world. This is who you pick to run this country. Seriously. To this day, it still floors me that there's that many stupid people in this nation. And it saddens me because, like you said, he just gave a clear, blunt threat to another nation. That he knows that this guy's as crazy as he seems. Because at the end of the day, I don't think Kim Jong-il is willing to start a nuclear war. He might try something to lure us to do something done for justification, which it'll be easy to do because look who's our president. He's easily goaded. He's easily goaded by anything. He snaps at the dare mention of something negative towards him because he's a fucking 10-year-old. But nobody seems to want to get this, and the fact that there's people still out here defending him just blows me away. And I feel sad. I feel sad because it seems like all fucking semblance of intelligence is leaving the human race right about now, especially at least in this country. Other countries seem to be getting their shit together. You have the protests in Iran where they're trying to build towards a better situation for their people and all that. Other countries seem to be getting better.
Yeah,
we're going back. We're going backwards.
It's depressing. I just can't stop reading the particular words he used with someone from this depleted and food-starved regime. That's not going to piss off their entire citizenry if they see that. I mean, that aside, this fucking... I want to touch on something you said a second ago about this disdain for experts in politics, And I've heard a lot of people make this argument. If you're having a surgery, you want an expert doctor, right? If you're at a restaurant, you want somebody who's experienced as a chef. Why is it with politics we don't seem to want people who are qualified for the fucking job? This guy has no background in anything that should qualify him to be president of the country. And that's exactly why people wanted him to be president of the country. And same thing with plenty of other positions that he's filled in other people's support of his. No relevant experience in any regard that should qualify any of these motherfuckers. And yet that's exactly why so many citizens want them to be there. Because, I don't know, they're one of us, which is usually bullshit. They're not those elitist politicians looking down on us. I don't want my politicians to be like me. I want them to be smarter than me. You should want that. I don't want my doctor to have the same level of medical knowledge that I do. What's the point of that? You should want an expert to do something they have expertise in. This hatred we have for professionals and elitism, at least in regards to politics, is irrational and stupidly dangerous. And it's a huge part of the reason we have this motherfucker, because he's so not an elite. He's so different. He's outside of politics. And everybody said that like it was a positive for some reason. I cannot fathom this love for people who have no business having these jobs.
Yeah, I always say it's not the position itself, it's the people. Politics, politicians have a place. The thing is, find good politicians. That's the only problem that's the only problem. Like, again, the whole throw the government away, get rid of the two-party system. None of that is, to me, are rational, viable options. Because just like with the lobbyist thing, you get rid of lobbyists, you're still going to have people who are going to want to give money to politicians to kind of to coerce them, to give them a break on certain things, or to do them a favor if they get elected. Because campaigns need to be ran. Money has to come from somewhere, and there are going to be people out there who are going to try to goad people. It doesn't matter if you call them a lobbyist, if you call them a donator, if you call them, whatever you want to call them. There's still going to be something there. In fact, I've always said the lobbyist system needs to stay in place, because at least it keeps a tab on who is doing what. So at least we know. Because think about what it was before the lobbyist system. We didn't know who was in the background giving all these people money, or how they got their money, or what influences their policies. We kind of get a more idea now, because you have to register as a lobbyist. You have to be put on the list. That list is freely open to the public to see who's donated to politicians. So it's not like we're left in the blue. It's just that we don't care to look at that stuff. But everybody just blanketed, give it a lobbyist and then politics will be fine. No, it's not. It don't work that way. Give it to the two parties and we'll be fine. No, because there's still going to be people picking sides as to whose philosophical viewpoint to join, whether you call it a Democrat or Republican, a greenhouse party, whatever you want to call it. There's always going to be people picking sides. It's human nature. So let's not be silly here.
I'm going to get off this motherfucker's Twitter, because he just tweeted something else.
What did this fool say now? Oh my God.
Okay, I guess I'll read it before I close this one.
This is a good live reactionary podcast, by the way, because you're getting exactly the reaction that I would have given you, like, had I been sitting at home by myself.
I will be announcing the most dishonest and corrupt media awards of the year on Monday at 5:00. Subject.
Wait. He's fucking doing his own personal awards list. You're the fucking goddamn president of the United States. What the fuck does this have to do with the country?
And if anybody thinks I'm dead ass.
Fuck does this have to do with anything that's going on? The Dreamers Act is about to be taken away. You said you were going to fix that. Shouldn't you be thinking about the Dreamers Act? You have the infrastructure bill that you need to be fucking working on with the Congress. Shouldn't you be? The fuck cares who you think is dishonest or honest in the media? What the fuck does that have to do with this country?
I'm wondering if he's serious. Like, if anybody else said this, I would be
I guarantee you, Monday we're going to have him standing in front of a podium. doing this dumb shit. I guarantee you, he's about to waste taxpayers' money to fucking get airtime and get all this shit prepared for his award ceremony. And this is who y'all want to be the leader.
I can't believe I'm reading this. Like, I'm not fucking with you guys. I hope you know that. I'm dead serious. It says this. Subjects will cover dishonesty and bad reporting in in various categories from the fake news media. Stay tuned! Exclamation point at the end. Dead ass.
So a liar is going to tell you about who's dishonest. Who is it? A habitual liar.
I'm going to close that off, but with that last tweet about the North Korea thing, I was thinking something that I didn't bother to say until this tweet. He's treating our politics like it's a TV show, and he's been doing this since the beginning. You know, when people ask him what does he mean by XYZ, he's like, yeah, you'll see, you'll find out. He's always treating shit like a cliffhanger. He's always operating. I gotta close this fucking window before you tweet something again. He's always operating like he's running a TV show trying to get the best ratings. That's part of the reason he's always talking this shit, you know, to, I don't know, hype up the viewership. I don't know what the fuck he's trying to accomplish.
It's like that Logan Paul thing that we were talking about before the podcast, or did we talk about it on the podcast? I don't know. It seems so long ago. He wears me out to where I just feel like I forget what time it is. But the Logan Paul thing that we discussed about him in the video, it's like that. You know what you're doing. You're trying to build hype and build attention. You're not necessarily doing anything to make awareness or to help out any situation. You're fucking treating this like you're going for YouTube views. That is the gist of it. He's monetizing, and he's monetizing the Oval Office for his own benefit, y'all. He seriously is. He's fucking treating it like he's getting ad revenue. And he probably is. There's probably something.
I would not be shocked at all. But I hope you guys all go and look at his Twitter just to see. I almost want somebody else to look just to see if I'm actually hallucinating that shit, because I'm just having trouble believing. And you know, you talk about the number of people who still support him. What, that North Korea tweet about 20 minutes has almost 50,000 likes. Like, so if any of you think he doesn't have any supporters, I'm sure maybe a few of those are bots. I don't fucking know, but
yeah, well, at least we know.
Don't fool yourself. He has a base. He still has people out there. I saw a motherfucker in a Walmart parking lot just the other day with that "Make America Great" hat on. I felt kind of uncomfortable because I was like, I don't know if I want to be the black guy in this situation, but
I don't blame you. Speaking of which, the last story about him, to show just the type of person that you elected. So it's been very cold, as Cardiac found out on his vacation. It's been damn cold in the Northeast, especially in the Midwest and parts of the Northwest as well. They had like a ton of snow dumped on them. In fact, it's funny because, did you hear about what happened in Erie, Pennsylvania? Over Christmas Eve and Christmas Day? Between those 2 days, they got 53 inches of snow. And as of like 5 o'clock Christmas Day, it was still snowing. So they probably got another 10 inches on top of that. I don't know what the final counts were, but they got 53 inches of snow between Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. That's how damn cold it's been on the East Coast. Because there's been pockets. Yeah, they can't. Yeah, that town's like fucking was shut down for Christmas. Like, you better hope you got to your families that morning of Christmas Eve, because you weren't seeing nobody. You better wipe all the
fucking food with you too.
Yeah, that was an eerie scene, but it's been pretty damn cold. We've been having a very, as you were saying, they called it the Arctic blast or something like that, whatever they want to call it. But it's been damn cold. It's actually like 16 degrees here where I'm at. So the president, in trying to be, I guess he was trying to be funny and mock all the people who believe in global warming, tweeted out how cold it was and how we need a little bit more global warming in the world. Which, again,
did he really?
People who, yeah, he tweeted that.
I guess I shouldn't be so shocked based on what
no. He was like, it's just really cold. It's terrible cold in the Northeast. We need a little bit more global warming in the world.
Okay.
As a man of science, how do you feel about that?
Why you gotta say that, man?
Well, no, because
I mean, I think it goes back to what I was just saying about this hatred of the elite experts and shit. It is a problem that we have a president and many other political leadership figures who don't believe in evolution, in global warming, climate change. They don't give a shit about science. That's a problem in general in this country, this hatred of science because it's elitist in some way, but our leaders should not be like the rest of us. And they are, because that's why you keep voting them in. They're as stupid as we are. Hooray.
Hey, although I'm a man of science, I'm going to come at this as from the perspective of a man of just common knowledge, maybe. I don't know. And when I say common knowledge, I'm speaking in the sense of I know how to read. And I know how to comprehend. Two things which I don't think our president knows how to do, because if he had those two things, he would realize that global warming isn't like turning up a thermostat just because you're cold and making it warmer in your house with central heating. It's the deterioration of the fucking ozone and the ecosystem. It's been said many times. You know what that means. You've heard it. You may dismiss it, but I know you've heard it said. So to make that joke not only shows how stupid you are, but how bad you are at making jokes. Like, how is that? It shows you how stupid he is. He really thought that was a smart quip to people who believe in global warming. Like, no, you didn't even make. I could see if he would have said, "Gee, it's cold, but they're saying that it's still we're getting hotter." This don't seem like global warming to me. That would have made more sense.
Yes, it's still.
Even though it wouldn't be accurate, because the climate change also affects how cold it gets in certain period of the year, where it does get unseasonably cold at certain times of the year when it shouldn't, because the ecosystem's fucked up. Yeah. But at least it would have made a lot more sense.
That's the certain part is he still doesn't probably realize how stupid that statement was, but that's our president. He doesn't even realize he's a moron. I'm sure he thinks he's quite bright, as a matter of fact. I mean,
he told us he was one of the smartest students in school. He was a very good student.
This goes. Partially it's that his ego is out of fucking control. But it goes a little bit to what I was just talking about with this hatred of experts. It's not just that people hate experts; it's that they all think that they are also experts. That's why you have people who don't know anything about climate science always having these strong opinions about climate change. People who have no medical experience with strong opinions about dietary practices or the effects of vaccines and their relation to autism. Like all these stupid thoughts people have because they feel entitled to whatever opinion they have because they're as good as an expert. They can Google shit. And Googling shit is the same as having a doctorate in a field, right? So everybody feels like they can be an expert in anything. And he is a perfect example of this type of behavior. That's why he doesn't feel inclined to really take in anybody else's opinion or think or do research or ask experts before he tweets shit like that, because as far as he's concerned, he's just as much an expert as anybody else. Okay. Forgot to close the Twitter window there. He just said watch Sean Hannity.
What?
He just said watch Sean Hannity at 9 or some shit.
Oh, wow. He has a contract with Fox. I'm convinced he's getting royalties for that shit. He's monetized presidency. But
yeah, there's this feeling it's part of the reason why having intellectual conversations in this country is so difficult, because nobody has any real humility. Like when you bring up stuff, I usually try to ask questions. I don't try to. I'll give an opinion of some sort, but I'm not acting like I'm an expert on every subject you bring up. Like, it's okay to admit that you don't know some shit. And if you listen to the way a lot of people talk, they talk as though they've been studying subjects their entire lives, like they've written books on the matter. And he's like that. He talks about economics and religions and all this shit like he's an expert in all these fields.
But if you notice when he talks about that stuff, he doesn't really say anything.
No.
He just regurgitates a lot. He does something that a lot of people do these days. He regurgitates certain facts that have stuck with them instead of actually talking about the subject. Like, God bless Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like, that man makes me feel dumb as shit, but I appreciate him for making me feel dumb as shit because he knows a lot about things that are interesting. I may not have no true interest in them. But it's fascinating that this guy has really took the time to try to study these things and break these things down. I appreciate his effort in life to be the smartest man on earth, it seems. Because that guy, like, have you ever listened to him give serious, like, scientific discussion?
I also listened to one of his audiobooks. It was like, I don't remember the title. It was like Physics for Dummies, essentially, which I still barely followed. He's a great speaker and he's quite intelligent.
Yeah, he's brilliant. It's funny because the last thing I saw with him in length, other than that whole thing on CNN or whatever, with the whole "what did we see" thing that lady was asking, like, Neil, like,
dude. Oh, the UFO shit,
yeah, and all that. He was actually at E3 last year, doing the discussion about games. And certain things that happen in games scientifically. And a lot of people probably don't know this, but one of his biggest pet peeves, even though I think he said he enjoys them for what they are entertainment-wise, but from a scientific base, Star Wars is not something that he appreciates because the certain things they do from a scientific level are just asinine to him. And someone brought up that, I guess they were poking with him because they were talking about the Millennium Falcon and jumping into hyper light speed. You just see him get this look on his face, like, you don't no.
I mean, he is an astrophysicist, right?
No, like, he's like, no. He was like, yeah, that insults me. That type of stuff insults my intelligence. But it's like, I appreciate that because, you do need someone in there to be able to actually tell you who's actually taking the time and put thought into things to be in control of certain things. Because we don't understand. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. None of us. Even they don't know everything. But they know what they know in their particular field. And that should be they should be appreciated for that.
Expertise should be, respected. I mean, you shouldn't. It's not that having authority in a field makes you an absolute authority in any sense. If the thing I like about him is when he's explaining stuff, and he's brought this point up. It's not just I'm an authority in astrophysics, so I can just say whatever I want, and you have to believe me. He'll try his best to explain it to you in a way that you should be able to agree with if it's objectively correct, right? So it's accessible. At least he tries to make it as accessible as possible for those of us without the background, but there should be at least a little respect for authority. And Trump doesn't have any intellectual authority in any arena. He's kind of a fucking idiot. Which, sorry to any supporters that might listen, but
no, it's the truth though.
He's never done anything that made me think he was particularly intelligent.
Yeah, it's like all the quote unquote success that he has should never be attributed to him. And
yet it is. People think he's a genius. There are still people who are like, I'm so glad to have a business genius in office, especially after that whole tax thing, which I don't know. I don't know what to do with those people. I hate to think that some people can't be reached. I always try to err on the side of, if you have a long enough conversation with someone and keep it objective, you can always reach somebody. But like some of these motherfuckers are making me question that whole belief in humanity because like what does he have to do? I mentioned the number of likes he had on those tweets, which were just objectively stupid tweets. They're in the tens of thousands after like a few minutes, right? Like, what does he have to say or do to lose those people? I think it'd be a cool experiment, like if you just drag them into a room and just show them like mock images of him doing something crazy and see if that like fucked with them for a second.
No, because they'll rationalize it like, well, that's something a normal human being would do. It's just like the whole 12 fucking Diet Cokes in a day bullshit. Like, I'm fat and even I find that disgusting.
Maybe that's what makes him a point of worship, the fact that he can do that and like live.
But he has money. That's the thing. And that's the thing that, again, it's because he was given money as a kid and he's had money all his life. So yeah, he can pay someone he could pay oddly enough, he could pay an expert to keep him alive because he's too stupid to try to do what he needs to do to keep himself alive.
I don't like when people body shame him. I feel like you should only shame his ideas, but it's really weird how like even his own pictures make him look kind of creepy.
They do, don't they? Like the golf one when they showed him swinging the golf club, that just looks.
I mean, I just got this random thought. Like, if I just scroll through the pictures he has on Twitter, maybe I'll find some more flattering ones. And it's like, none of them really are.
No, he's always looked creepy as a person. You know, even the younger pictures of him, he always looked like somebody that you should not want to be around.
Fuck.
But that's who we have.
So it's 2018 with this guy.
Okay, so
and
we could all agree that, like, from a political and social aspect, 2017 was just a fucked up year. You know, you have Trump, you have him fostering all the weird social issues, like the thing with Charlottesville, the neo-Nazis, him saying that they're not bad people.
Where do you see the social aspects of the country going if we want to step away from our glorious orange leader for a second? You see any? Are you hopeful for any social improvements going into this year?
Yeah, because the one thing that I would always give him credit for is that his idiocracy seems to be sparking a little more interest in understanding exactly how politics work, exactly how certain social things should be attended to. It started more conversation than I think we've ever had in this country. Believe it or not, for all the progress that we say we've had in this country, the conversation part has always been the weakest. It's like, yeah, laws have been passed. Certain ideas have been indoctrinated into the way we behave and things like that. But to me, there's still that whole conversation part where we don't necessarily discuss out what's going on and what's needed to be done and how we can make things better. It just goes back to my whole distaste for Band-Aid tactics. If you put a Band-Aid on it, it's just fine. It'll heal on its own. And in some cases that's true, but so there are some things that you can't just throw a Band-Aid on, and that they need to be looked at further, and they need to be checked out and have a discussion on how we're going to solve these things. And I think we're kind of building more momentum towards the discussion thing. There's a lot more people crying for the discussion part. Unfortunately, we're still at a point where some people who decide to join into the discussion aren't really trying to. They're just trying to be antagonists. They're trying to be jackasses. And they're trying to veer the conversation, like Trump, veer the conversation away from things that are important. Instead of talking about stuff like the Dreamers Act or talking about what should we do with healthcare as a whole, instead of just ripping out ACA and that'll fix the problem, and not really giving a conversation on what we need to do to like make things work or fix the problem. There's a lot more people now that are saying, no, we actually need to address these things. We can't just divert attention. We have to actually sit down and take a real serious look at certain things. So I do like that. I do like that it's encouraging people. Again, I would like the conversation to kind of be more focused and more productive. But the fact that the ball is kind of rolling in that way, I will say that leaves me with some hope for the social scene coming into 2018, because people are paying attention more to more important things, not just silly things. Like, again, being a content creator and being someone who did gaming content, I know for certain people will die on the hill because of things like loot boxes, but they will refuse to discuss what's going on politically or racially and things like that. But I think we're getting more people who are more willing to incorporate that into their conversations now, which is good. It's very good.
Yeah, I will say, I'm glad more people are having the conversations. I sort of echoing what you said. I hope while we're having more of those conversations, I hope they become more mature and useful. 2 million idiots arguing isn't really useful. As you're supposed to, 2 people having a mature, in-depth conversation. I hope conversations become more long form. One of the things that's really bothered me over the last couple of years is the increasing reliance on memes as a form of communication, which are just really short little things that nobody really fact checks. It's not really a conversation. It's just kind of quick spouting out things that represent your ideas. There's never any real communication happening there. What is happening is often factually incorrect, misleading. It's just not the best way for us to communicate. So I hope our reliance on that sort of thing falls back and we actually have more true in-depth conversations. I think the racial issues, we saw a lot of tension over 2015 and 16 with police brutality and stuff. I feel like some of the anger, or at least energy, is starting to die down a bit, which is not great necessarily, but I hope it means that we are calming down and can have better conversations around that. I'm concerned about where the racial issues toward people of Middle Eastern descent is going to go. You had Trump with his interesting stance he took in the Israeli-Palestine issue there, as well as what he's done throughout his presidency with this whole Muslim ban, and now we got this Dreamers Act thing that's coming up. Immigration in general, I think, is going to become more in people's thoughts as we roll through 2018. We had, several terrorist attacks last year, which are problems. I think we'll need to increasingly address. I'm hoping more people join in that conversation than just racists and idiots, which unfortunately they tend to dominate the conversations right now, and I'm fearful of that. So I'm hoping more people jump up and get in there. So for Black people, I'm hoping the conversation starts to be more mature now. For Middle Eastern people, I fear where that's going. Big up to Iran for their protests. I respect them trying to improve their lives. I wonder what's gonna. Things seem kind of quiet for the LGBTQ community. I'm hoping good things are happening for them in this following year.
Yeah, I'm glad that he's not badgering them. At least they get to escape some of his fury.
Not too much lately, at least. So,
real quick, there was a breaking news. Orrin Hatch has decided to retire. Guess he listened to that newspaper after all. But the idea is that they think Mitt Romney is going to run for the seat, which is weird. I didn't know he was a resident of Utah, but guess he must have moved there recently.
I guess that would move him up further if for some reason the president and vice president dies. He's like what, number 4 right now?
I guess
in the line of succession.
That's kind of interesting that they're saying that Mitt Romney's going to run, especially since he's been very critical of Trump. But that doesn't really mean nothing. He's critical of Trump, but he's down with letting. I'm sure he's down with letting him run while the GOP do their thing. That would be actually smart for the GOP to have him run, though, because he's probably one of the more liked people in their side, so he could probably win that seat, especially in Utah.
Yeah, probably. It's not saying much for their party, but he is certainly one of the more liked, I guess, for whatever that's worth. I'm hoping we get some cool scientific advances. I saw there was some article I read a couple of weeks ago about them trying some gene editing therapy, which I think is going to be a great medical advance moving forward. At least I hope so. Because this guy, all this distraction with him, like, we're not embracing science, man. Science has cool things to offer. Let's cure some fucking diseases. Let's do some cool shit. I'm very interested in where we're going with gene editing. I'm wondering how his administration is going to shake out, since he can never seem to keep anybody in a job for more than a couple months. I'm wondering if he'll be able to fill whatever positions he still needs to fill. I'm doubtful.
No, he won't. Yeah. I'm curious. The thing I'm hopeful about the most is the elections. And it's funny because there are Democrats out there starting mighty early. It's funny because, this had to be 2 days after our podcast. I got like a bunch of like political propaganda in my mail from one of the Democratic House of Representative members from the state of Maryland saying it's not too early to start getting ready to like vote and remember and stuff like that. It was like, you are out there, sir. Anthony Brown. But yeah, you're not playing. You making sure people get out there, which is something I encourage people to do. Like, seriously, if the presidential election taught you anything, is that you need to vote regardless. Even if you don't like the choices, I would rather you vote and not vote, because it's important. It's very, very important. You always claim, people, especially I hate the people who claim that nobody listens to us, that's why I don't vote. How am I supposed to listen if you don't speak? You know what I mean?
Clearly there is listening, because a lot of people are like, yeah, fuck this, we want something else, and we got something else, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, like, I don't want to hear after this that voting doesn't work because somehow this motherfucker got voted in. Yeah. No, you don't get to use that excuse anymore. As much as many of us don't like this decision, it was a democratic decision.
Yeah, and there's no such thing as you have to vote for one party or the other. That's something I've always said. People need to stop thinking that. Even if you don't like either of the candidates, if you have a candidate you like, vote for them. Doesn't mean don't vote because they're not going to win, because that's just, it's stupid. You don't try because you don't think that you're going to succeed. How will you know until you try? And if you don't succeed, try again. Try something else.
I mean, we just had a motherfucker that won by one vote on the last podcast. So.
Yeah. By the way, there's shenanigans going on with that, right?
I'm not surprised.
So,
what is possible?
Long story short, as short as I can make it, because it's mind-boggling to me. During the Virginia state elections, a delegate Republican had assumingly won. They did the mandatory recount, of course, that by law they had to do, and they found out that the other person won, the Democrat, not the Republican, by one vote. A judge struck down the order to pronounce her the winner a week or two later, and now there's chaos over that, because this judge actually has been someone who the Republican who was in the campaign, has donated heavily to in the past to help get him his seat on the board for to become a judge in the state of Virginia, basically. So it's a bunch of chaos and shenanigans right now. So they're most likely going to have another runoff, just because.
Good shit.
Yeah,
that's some go smooth. So, do you think after the midterm elections things will be significantly different in our political landscape?
I would so hope so. Because it's something I hate about politics from the standpoint of voters, is that a lot of voters will vote certain things out of spite. And Trump has made people like be very spiteful towards him. I honestly think that you might end up getting kind of the reverse effect of the presidential election, where Democrats didn't like the choices that they had, so they chose not to vote, clearing the way for Trump to get in because they didn't get who they want. I could see that happening a lot in different places. It's just like the Alabama election might be a perfect example where you had people who were more than willing to vote for Roy Moore, but there were enough that didn't want to vote for him. And then there were more than enough people who wanted to vote for Doug Jones, whether they truly believed in him or they just didn't want to see the other side win. That you ended up with that seat flipping. I think you're going to see that happen a lot, especially in states where you get people who have voted for things that are very Trump centric and people don't like. It's going to be like a lot of people who supported Trump. You know, some of them are going to be okay because they're in a strong enough place where they can either use that to fuel them, or they're strong enough to blow through the negativity of supporting Trump. But there's going to be like I think quite a few people who are going to have to like possibly look at the idea of having retribution come because of their support of Trump. So.
I'm wondering because I feel like a lot of us have been assuming that there would be a Democratic backlash going into the midterm elections, and after seeing Trump win the presidency, I'm not confident in anything in life anymore. So it's like I look at that and I think it might not go the way we plan, especially after this tax reform thing, because some people like it, not just his supporters, but other people are like, well, at least I get a bigger tax refund in 2019 or whatever. Well, he said something about the mandate, the individual mandate being taken away. So, well, at least I won't have to pay if I don't have health insurance or whatever. Some people, even who don't like Trump, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. They're not hating this necessarily.
Well, that's because it's the easiest way to coerce some people is to tell them they get more money. Money kind of fix problems for a lot of people in their mind. That's the thing. People are looking, I get a bigger tax rate in 2019, but nobody's thinking about all the deductibles that are being taken away. And the fact that what is going to slowly happen is that it's going to slide into a position where you will seemingly pay less taxes year and to date, but the government has to recoup that money somehow. Guess where they're going to get you on your tax return? Because you didn't pay enough taxes. And you don't have the deductibles to bring down your tax bracket. So guess what? You ain't getting that money that you think you're going to get back.
I mean, certainly, but in the short term, it could improve his popularity, not just his popularity, but the popularity of the GOP in general enough that it might stem the strength of that backlash of a.
Well, the problem is it's going to come a year too late, though, for them.
I mean, yeah, if it came after that big refund, I think it would have a much stronger effect. But I think a lot of them now are on shaky footing because they're like, well, we're gonna get money, and if I don't have health insurance, I don't have to pay this. I definitely saw some people who were hesitantly like somewhat liking this and not liking the fact that they liked it. Like they seemed uncomfortable in admitting that they liked the fact that they were going to get the money, which I think is going to disrupt some of the strength in their hatred for him to go out and vote. At least that's what I'm a little fearful of. Yeah. Granted, he could do a lot more stupid shit to make us forget that we're going to get some money by the time November rolls around. So,
yeah.
I guess my point is I'm not as confident as a lot of people that a bunch of these seats are about to flip back to the old Democrat side. I think it remains to be seen. I want to see what we look like in a few months from now.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to see how that's going to go. But yeah, I'm hopeful that there'll be some sense of like we need to fix things and change them enough so that things get at least balanced out a little better and more rational people are put in places. This is like with we were just talking about the Orrin Hatch thing. I don't even think they need a Mitt Romney to run. I just feel like Utah is just going to be one of those places where it doesn't matter. Give them a Republican, and 9 times out of 10 they're going to win regardless. Unless they do some Roy Moore shit. I think because honestly, Roy Moore didn't lose because he's a Republican and people didn't like not trust Republicans in that state. Let's be honest. He didn't win because he was such a bad candidate from a personal and political level. He's had a horrible political career, having been kicked out of his position twice for questionable behavior. He has the personal history background of the whole, harassing underage women. The fact that he wrote about how like he fell in love with his wife when she was 15, and this guy was in his fucking 30s at the time. This happened, stuff like that. It's like he was a distasteful person, and he questioned people's morals a little bit too much. Like you could be a fucked up person. It's just like we've had going to George Bush Jr. Someone who's been repeatedly arrested but cleared because of who he was, of like drug charges and alcohol charges and things like that. And he's got away with a lot of things. Had his father make sure he doesn't have to go to the military. Like there are distasteful things that you could say in his past, but they're more acceptable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Roy Moore didn't have that acceptable immoral like background.
It certainly wasn't a landslide though.
Yeah, no, because it's not like Doug Jones just like wiped the floor with him. He won by like 1-2%.
Yeah, and that performance is part of what makes me so concerned. Same thing with that Democrat that won by 1 in what's it again, in Virginia? Wherever.
Yeah, Virginia.
Like these are not landslide victories, even in cases where they probably should have been. If you take away the particular states, because some of them are obviously more Republican or Democrat, but if you take away that, some of these victories aren't as dramatic as you would think. You look at everything wrong with Roy Moore, and he still could have won. Like,
yeah. Remember, we were recording on the night of the election, and he was winning for a good part of the night. It wasn't until they got to the later closing polls that things flipped. Yeah, so
I'm not going to play too much of the predicting game to see how this shit is going to go this year. I'm hoping it goes great, which doesn't necessarily mean that there's a Democratic sweep, although it is not, it is largely Republicans that are doing some creepy shit right now. But in general, I just hope we get a bunch of rational people in there, regardless of their party.
Yeah, and I would say that would be my biggest fear, because it's not just about voting in Democrats.
Right.
Vote in rational, good people, because they're, his comments about Trump after he won, Doug Jones, about how we shouldn't be worrying ourselves about Trump's past and him harassing women and his sexual allegations and all of that. While to a point, I can agree on some of his stance towards that. It makes you question, okay, so are you saying that you're comfortable with someone who's possibly done these things in office? If he was, especially if he was a Democrat or something, So there's questions about Doug Jones that made me realize one thing. A lot of people voted for Doug Jones because not necessarily he was a lesser of two evils, but it's like they knew what they were getting. Rory Moore, and he was evil. Not only that, he's a Trump supporter, and we need to like correct this problem by clearing the field. Like it's kind of that whole wipe the slate clean situation all over again, where we're just gonna kick all these all these Republicans out, and then things will be better. No, because you don't know exactly what this person is running on. You could be voting for someone who might end up worse. It's because of where his political position stands as far as party. So go out, pay attention to these politicians, listen to them, look up some background stuff. I'm not saying that you have to do like you're writing a thesis and spend months developing your opinion, but at least try to gain a little bit of background knowledge on these people so you can feel comfortable about who you're giving your vote. Because a lot of times we just vote just because, like that, those people were saying, well, he's a Republican, so I'm gonna vote for him because I don't want no Democrat and stuff like that. You don't want to be that person. Make sure you feel comfortable so you won't be sitting there bitching when people don't do what you think they should do because you already know what they're planning to do because you paid attention,
Yeah. Let's see how it goes. Beginning of the year. Putting my smiley face back on. Captain Optimism over here.
Okay, so next week when something happens, doom and gloom is coming back, right?
You said next week, like he's not gonna like this dude isn't gonna tweet something.
He already fucked up the year. It's been 2 days and you've already done some. God damn it! Could he have given us a week? By the way, I can't stress this point enough, and I still have 19 days to stress this point. It hasn't even been a fucking year, people. It literally has not been a year. We still got 19 days to go before it's been an official year in office for this fool.
It's crazy how each month feels like 5. Like, no, like the year feels like it kind of goes by fast, but like each day feels like an eternity with this motherfucker. Like, it's weird. It's just, oh my god. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it. It hasn't been a single year, and it feels like the presidency should be almost over now. Like, it doesn't feel like we have another 3 years of this.
Yeah, I feel like 2018 we should be voting in a new president, not necessarily, but it's god damn it.
This guy is. I know before even the shit I brought up, he was talking about like Palestine or whatever. I was like, this guy is all over the map today. I mean, look forward to a long and happy 2018. I was about to say painful, but optimism hat back on.
It better be. I swear, I can't take this shit no more.
I'm getting numb.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start doing drugs or something. Let me go call Trump and find out who gives him his coke, because his world seems to be perfect to him.
Does this woman have a name yet, or what?
Who?
Oh, there was some video going around of some woman in Iran who, was standing without her hijab or whatever, like waving a white flag. And I see this image all over the place, but I still don't know what this woman's name is.
It's a good question.
Assuming that the whole shit is legit, I stand with her, protesting for some gender equality over there.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it be weird if the Middle East progressed further than we have by the end of this year? It's fucking insane shit.
God, now I feel bad because, like, for a second I was like, no, fuck them. I was like, no, but I do want them to have gender equality and all that cool shit. I just want us to also keep it. I don't want us to lose it.
Right, exactly. Oh, man. But we'll see. Baby steps, I guess. Baby steps. All right, so that's going to do it for the first podcast of the year. We are as hopeful and cheerful as ever, as you can see. So
I'm trying
more
really hard.
Yeah, it's going to be a struggle, but you gotta hope for the best. Maybe I should become more religious because maybe prayer will do something. I don't know. At this point, I'm willing to try all tactics.
Maybe I should become a drinker because
sometimes it can make life a little bit more tolerable, but once it's gone, reality sets back in. So don't do it.
Maybe I should lie about my age and run for president in 2020.
Why not?
Obama lied about his birthplace, right? So fuck it.
Exactly. He ain't American.
Nope. I'm gonna lie about my age, and we're gonna make
he's
America
a Muslim
smart
as well.
Yeah,
and he's a Muslim as well. So.
Fuck that guy. Make America smart again. It's gonna be a green hat. Fuck that, because it's the opposite of red. So green hat, make America smart again. 2020. Let's do it.
Yeah, see, don't put that because some might mistake it for make America segregated again. See that happening. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. Again, thank you to everybody who watched. Feel free to come back next episode. If we haven't scared you as normal, anything you have to say to close out the show to the people before we go?
I'm somewhat positive about some things, just because I'm not overly optimistic doesn't mean I'm waiting for the world to end. I think after a year of hell, maybe we will flip back. So try to survive long enough to see the world become good again.
Yes, because we're in the political Hunger Games, so may the odds forever be in your favor, people. All right, that's it. I'm out of here. Again, check us out next week on the Reason Reborn. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
Happy New Year.